Today, we're going to talk about a scientist who studies some of the most complex materials on the entire planet. But get this, his most fascinating subject? It might just be you. First, let me ask you something. Just think about the last time you were absolutely sure someone was lying to you. How did you know? Did they look away? Were they fidgeting? Did their voice kind of crack? Just hold on to that thought, because everything you think you know about spotting a lie, well, it might be completely wrong. All right, to really get to the bottom of this, we've got to start with a guy named Ashutosh Tiwari. He's a materials scientist, and he writes some of the most dense, specialized, heavy-duty scientific books you can possibly imagine. I mean, his career goes back decades, and he has been laser-focused on one thing: advanced materials. We're talking smart polymers back in 2010, all the way to thermal spraying in 2022. This is a scientist who lives and breathes the tangible, physical world. Seriously, his bug titles probably sound like a totally different language to most of us. Advanced topological insulators, bioengineered nanomaterials. This is someone whose brain operates on a microscopic molecular level. You know, hard, real, tangible science. But what if I told you that all of this incredible work in the world of atoms and polymers was really only half of the story? Because this is where it gets wild. On the one hand, you've got the handbook of graphene, and on the other, you have the art of reading people. The same guy wrote both. The mind that's decoding nanomaterials also wrote a guide to decoding human behavior, body language, and all our hidden emotions. So, this leads us to the big question, right? How on earth can someone be an expert in both of these things? Is there actually a real science to reading people that's as systematic as, say, material science? Let's dive in and find out. Okay, so the answer, believe it or not, starts with all the stuff most of us get wrong. To really understand the actual science here, we have to start by throwing out all the popular myths. Hey, remember that question I asked you at the very beginning? If you thought looking away or fidgeting were dead giveaways for a lie, you're definitely not alone. But according to research cited by the FBI, those are just myths. Scientific studies have shown over and over again there is no single Pinocchio response, no one single behavior that automatically means someone is lying. So here's the crucial insight, the real key to all of this. It is not the behavior itself, it's the change in behavior. The secret to detecting deception is to figure out a person's normal baseline, how they usually act, and then look for when they deviate from it. So a person who's normally calm who suddenly gets agitated, or a super talkative person who suddenly goes quiet, that's the signal you're looking for. And this whole idea of change brings us to a really cool core concept in deception science: the idea of leakage. Basically, when people lie, especially when the stakes are high, the truth just has a way of leaking out. One of the most amazing forms of leakage is something called a microexpression. It's a completely involuntary flash of a hidden emotion across someone's face. Imagine a tiny flicker of fear on the face of someone who's claiming to be totally calm. We're talking fast as 1/15th of a second, but they're a direct, unfiltered window into what a person is truly feeling. But this leakage doesn't just happen in the face. It can happen across 5 different channels: the face, body language, the voice, verbal style, and the actual words being said. Lying is a really complicated performance, right? Someone might be saying yes with their words, but their body is ever so slightly shaking no. It is almost impossible to control all 5 of those channels at the same time. And check this out. When experts are trained to analyze all these channels together, looking for those little inconsistencies between the words, the body, and the voice, the results are pretty stunning. One study found they could correctly tell the difference between liars and truth-tellers with 90% accuracy. That is so much better than just guessing. Now, let's zoom in on one of those channels that we often don't think about enough: the voice. It's not just a tool for words, it's a super rich source of information all by itself. Yeah, research from Gonzaga University really shows just how critical these vocal cues are. The way we say something fundamentally changes how that message lands, and ultimately whether people see us as credible or not. The research even breaks it down with this really useful acronym: FASTED. It stands for fluidity, articulation, sonority, tempo, emotion, and dynamic intensity. Basically, is the speech smooth, or is it full of uhs and ums? Is the tempo all rushed? Does the emotion you hear in their voice actually match the words they're saying? All these little things shape how much we believe someone.
As the researchers put it so well, the messenger and the message are inseparable. If the way someone is talking feels off, we instinctively start to distrust the words themselves, no matter how convincing they might sound on paper.
So let's bring this all the way back to our scientist, Ashutosh Tiwari. We started out with these two worlds that seem like complete opposites. Hard material science and the soft skill of reading people. But maybe they aren't so different after all. When you get right down to it, both fields are really about the same thing: looking at a complex system, finding its patterns, and decoding the rules that make it work. Whether you're analyzing the structure of graphene or the structure of a lie, you're applying a scientific mindset. Which kind of leaves us with one last thought. We've seen there's a real science to understanding human behavior with real, observable data. But what do you think is ultimately the more complex system, the one that's truly harder to decode? Advanced materials or us?